While the press and the pundits are predicting a giant red wave, it didn't happen.
As President Biden taking a bit of a victory lap, a well-deserved one today, after 2 weeks of hits for only campaigning in safe blue states, avoiding battlegrounds, and cable news rebukes for being out of touch with his voters, he stayed in the basement, or in the White House. In the basement in 2020, it worked, and it worked again in 2022. We bring in our panel. Phil Wegman covers the White House for Real Clear Politics. Scott Bolden, former chair of the DNC Democratic Party, nice enough to join us after a little celebration, I would suspect, last night, or enjoyment. Good to see you, my friend. Thank you. Phil, I start with you. How surprised was the White House, and how hastily arranged was today's press conference?
They were definitely surprised. There were some Biden campaign alumni who tried to tell me that they softened expectations, that they lowered the bar intentionally. But the fact of the matter is the White House reads the same polls as the rest of us, and they were preparing for a shellacking. They thought that Republicans were going to win by big margins in the House and the Senate. Obviously, control of those chambers is still tight. We don't know. But when President Biden appeared in front of reporters today, he had a bit of swagger, and I think it's fair to say that he didn't expect to have that good of a night, because certainly the White House, they didn't put that press conference even on the schedule.
Yeah, no, it wasn't on the schedule yesterday, so they may have thought about it, but it wasn't there. Scott, you guys had a good night. You got to say that in every sense of the word. We don't know who won the Senate or not, which is shocking because we can figure out the lottery winners in 3 hours, but I digress on that. This is the president today talking about working with what is almost certainly going to be a Republican House. Take a listen.
Regardless of what the final tally in these elections show, and there's still some counting going on, I'm prepared to work with my Republican colleagues. The American people have made clear, I think, that they expect Republicans to be prepared to work with me as well.
These are the same people that President Biden called threats to democracy. You and I talked about that. How do you make deals then with people who you called threats to democracy?
Well, it's going to be difficult to make deals with them, but there are a lot of other Republicans there. It'll be, if it's a 5 to 6 seat margin with the Republicans controlling the House, there'll be plenty of deals to be made because that's what the voters have said, and maybe it'll force the parties to work together. That's never worked, but the Republicans had a red ripple, not a red wave, and the Democrats are relieved more than celebrating, I think. But two things that came out of yesterday that the polls missed. Abortion was only 3 or 4 points behind inflation as the #1 issues that pushed voters to the polls. And secondly, for the first time in, I think, 20 years, I was reading that the independents broke for the Democrats who are who control the White House, as opposed to breaking for the Republicans. That was pretty unique. And then lastly, the Democrats who supported extreme Republican candidates during their primaries, like in Illinois and Maryland, that worked for them because we got the first black governor of Maryland, and Pritzker out of Illinois is the governor, and they trounced these extreme Republican candidates that they were running against. So really interesting observations.
Don Bolden in New Hampshire, you put onto that list. Gibbs in Michigan running for Congress. Whether or not supporting election deniers is ever a good idea for people who don't like election deniers is a different conversation.
Right.
But your
it's
point,
a bad idea, in my opinion.
But it worked, and somehow all is forgiven when you win at some point in politics. This is what the president had to say about some Republicans. A new term I hadn't heard: mega MAGA. First, play that, and we'll get Phil in here for a second.
I don't think we're going to break the fever for the super mega MAGA Republicans. But I think they're a minority of the Republican Party. I think the vast majority of the members of the Republican Party, we disagree strongly on issues, but they're decent, honorable people.
That's the Joe Biden of the Senate, almost, back in the 90s and early 2000s, and maybe even the Joe Biden of the Obama administration. That's not been the Joe Biden of the past 2 years, being willing to make deals and speak charitably about Republicans. Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.